in Biloxi, Mississippi. Chris, you're on.
Hello, George.
Hi.
First-time caller, long-time listener. Love your show.
Thank you, sir.
Here in the South, we've got a big problem with crop dusters. With all the crops, we're constantly getting sprayed and inundated with all kind of chemicals. The safest of these chemicals are known to have cellular, mutagenic, and neurological effects. Is there anything that we can take, any herbs that we can take to counteract the effects of these poisons and chemicals?
Good question. Michael, what can you do? Atmospheric problems like that. Is there anything to cleanse your system?
If I may make a suggestion, Monsanto has developed a monopoly that is unbelievable. And, for example, the object of their monopoly and the way that they work it is they actually create GMO foods or genetically modified vegetables. And these vegetables are modified so that they can tolerate excessive amounts of pesticides. And so they're getting sprayed more and more and more, and these atmospheric chemicals are killing us.
Yeah.
There's no doubt about that.
They have no place to go except in us.
That's
right.
True. And I would suggest very strongly that every listener that you have and every friend of every listener you have write their Congress, write their senators, and say this type of monopoly has to stop. Because, yes, there are in the book several herbs that will help cleanse. But when you're being constantly bombarded and you constantly cleanse, you're also removing beneficial flora and bacteria. You're also removing vital minerals from your body. You can cleanse an awful lot from a simple clay called bentonite. But if you use it for more than a few days, again, you're going to lose vital minerals and that your body needs.
It cleans out everything, right?
It cleans out everything. And when you do that, you put yourself in jeopardy again. You can do it 2 or 3 times a month, no harm done. But the bombardment, as the gentleman that called in said, is a daily thing. So we have to, as a community of earthlings, if you will, start making these people stop contaminating the earth.
Michael, how long will bentonite last, by the way, in a jar?
It's fairly short lasting. You're going to get about a 24-hour cleanse, and the cleanse will last for another 24. So you're getting about 48 hours from a treatment.
But can you save the bottle for a year, or do you have to get rid of it?
Actually, you can add some distilled water if it becomes hard and shake it real well, and it'll last forever.
Okay, so it's not a material that spoils.
No.
All right, let's go to Bill in Madison, Wisconsin. Go ahead, Bill. You're up with us.
Thank you for taking my call.
Sure.
One of my sons is a neurophysiologist psychiatrist, works at a VA hospital treating the soldiers coming back from Afghanistan. I myself, I'm a retired cancer researcher, have a PhD. I was at Washington University and in the pathology department for a while years ago. And I had done a paper and found out a certain molecule that's in much of our foods that causes hardening of the arteries in animals in a shorter period of time as 2 weeks. The head of the department came to me and said, Will, we can't publish your paper. I said, why not? The big company that funds some of our research has told us we cannot publish your paper. In other words, it's control. You mentioned Monsanto. I was up in the Upper Peninsula of Michigan talking about how there's an effort to take away the guns from the people by having a lot of predators in the woods. Somebody from Monsanto came a few hours later. I went back to get a paper, and here he was telling the people at the station, you can't have this on the air. You can't have this on the air. It's people control. It was already back in the 60s. and it's going on right now. My question is this. Is the cheapest way to control, now we've got PTSD, for example, in the soldiers, depression among a lot of people, the cheapest way to control our depression is taking lithium carbonate rather than the expensive antidepressants that the drug companies are trying to push on us. Have you heard of lithium carbonate? It is a very cheap way. Take a little bit of it. You got to be careful, not too much. It is really a good way of keeping yourself pretty happy. How do you react, please?
How happy? What do you think, Michael?
I think he's absolutely correct. Another problem with the PTSD that we're seeing is called adrenal insufficiency. The adrenal glands produce hormones as well as our testes or ovaries do. And under constant stress, the adrenals effectively shut down. And he is absolutely correct with the lithium carbonate. And you do have to be careful with the dosage. Start very small, work your way up to where you feel more comfortable. Also, I'm going to say this again. Get a good hormone profile that includes free testosterone and free estradiol. And what you'll find in these PTSDs is because of the adrenal insufficiency, they're low on cortisol, so they're much more susceptible to allergies and inflammation, and they're low on testosterone, which is the best antidepressant known to man, and that goes for women as well. Men and women both have the same exact hormones, we just have them in different ratios.
And let me throw in a product that's excellent for treating PTSD as well. It's a product called Supreme B, and you can just Google that to find some research on Supreme B. I know many people that have PTSD that are taking it very successfully.
So, what is it, honey?
Supreme B?
Yeah, I'm not calling you honey, Ty. I'm saying, is it honey?
Oh, honey George. No, it's a B complex vitamin. It's a liquid B complex. Basically.
Okay. All right, very good. Let's go next to Philip in Stanton, Virginia. Welcome to the show. Hi, Philip.
Hello, George.
Hey.
My question is, I have a friend who has had cancer, and she's been treated with radiation, and she's suffering terribly right now. I'm wondering if there is a treatment, an herbal treatment for the ill effects of radiation from the treatment of cancer.
Well,
yeah. You know, let me start with to answer that. Yeah, I mean, the product that we've talked about before, Life One, it sounds like a cure-all for different things. It definitely helps to mitigate the deleterious effects of radiation. Life One is one for sure. And there are other products that you can take as well, such as
potassium something, right?
I'm sorry?
What was that product people were taking in Japan during the Fukushima discharge? Was it the potassium?
Zeolite. It was zeolite. So zeolite is one thing that a lot of people in Japan were taking. You know, iodine is something that you could take to fill up your thyroid with good iodine before the radioactive iodine gets into your thyroid. We take iodine every day. My family does. Sodium bicarbonate, actually, baking soda is really good for radiation mitigation. So, and Dr. Farley mentioned bentonite. You know, calcium bentonite clay is another thing that you can take for radiation toxicity as well.
And one thing that sometimes helps a great deal, they used, and they found it very effective in Chernobyl, was mistletoe.
Mistletoe?
Yeah, mistletoe, yes.
Like Christmas mistletoe, that stuff?
Yeah, like you stand under it, you have to kiss somebody?
Yeah.
Yep.
It comes from the root, so it's not poisonous. It's not the berry.
All right, let's go to San Bernardino. Lisa's turn. Go ahead, Lisa.
Hi. I was just wondering what Dr. Farley thinks about as far as treatments for cancer, live blood analysis, and green smoothies.
All right.
Hello?
Greens food. What do you think, Michael?
Are you talking about, it depends if you're talking about nutrition or you're talking about treatment.
I'm talking about, well, in the treatment for a disease. I actually have a couple just questions. I don't want to take up too much time, but as far as in treating, part of treatment for cancer, is live blood analysis something that you would do, or have you?
Actually, if I were there are actually two effective methods. One's rather new, so I'll name one that was approved by the FDA in 1978, and you can't find an oncologist that knows what it is. It's called an AMAS test, AMAS, and it will actually give you an excellent idea of where you stand and whether you're progressing towards getting well or whether the cancer is winning the battle. It tests for malignin, which is an antibody that is formed. All cancer cells produce malignin. The body forms antibodies to malignin, and the antibody tests are much more active than the antigen tests they use. So an AMAS test is the best way to monitor.
Okay, very good. Couple more calls here. We'll go to Mike in Brooklyn, New York. Go ahead, Michael.
Hi. Hi, George. How are you?
Good, Mike. Good.
My Lord, I hear you every night for like 40 years.
I haven't been around that long.
I wish you had, though, George.
Well,
you're like therapy to a lot of people, believe me.
Thanks.
And I mean that. I appreciate that you're out there. It's getting late. I have a lot of things that I could say. Just so you remember me when I try to call again, Mike from Brooklyn, and I got a lot of spiritual stories. But I have something now to tell you about. I live in pain. I'm 50 years old. I had 2 field fusions in my lower back. L3, 4, twice. Second time, a year later, this was 96, 97, they had to go in anterior, posterior to fuse it better. The rods broke.
Jeez, ouch.
After surgery. Now, I'm dealing, I just moved upstate. A year and a half ago, I had a left knee replacement. 6 months later, he had to do it again. Different the doctor. Both times, it's totally messed up. It's cracking. They checked for just last month, the second time for infection, and the test came back negative. The doctor today told me, orthopedic, he said he didn't have a good attitude at all. He said, well, there's not much I could do for you. It seems like scar tissue. I could go in and change it, but you may be worse. I may have to amputate it. And so I'm living in pain, and I've put on a lot of weight. I'm 300 pounds, 5'9".
What were you, Mike, a few years ago, weight-wise?
Yeah, 187.
Wow.
I used to box.
Okay.
187, like 210 tops. After the back surgery, I never was the same. The first cut, I mean it did something with the nerves and just something to like the demeanor, like everything. It's just like cutting a tree.
You know what? I would recommend, based on what we've heard with interviews over this course of years, stem cells. Michael, what do you think of stem cells?
I think they're very effective, but if he doesn't get the cause of the breakdown of the bone corrected, stem cells will be only fairly effective, if at all. I don't want to sound like a broken record, but we went over the testosterone issue before, and with his weight, fat cells actually give off, they act as exocrine glands. They actually give off estradiol. And if he is estrogenic, there are a couple of problems with that. One is as you get older and lose testosterone dominance, your tolerance for pain decreases. The second thing is you cannot rebuild bone without adequate testosterone.